The large white spacecraft landed smoothly on the landing pad of the Galactic Defense Academy. The doors opened with a soft hiss. 20 humans walked out, blinking in the bright purple light of the alien sun. They were the first humans ever to join the academy. Kim was among them. He was shorter than most of the other humans, but his body was solid and strong. He had short black hair and calm eyes that missed nothing. On his chest, the blue and white patch of Earth stood out against his gray uniform. Kim looked around with wonder. Alien beings of all shapes and sizes moved across the huge courtyard. Some had 4 arms, others floated instead of walking. A few were so tall they had to duck under doorways. The Academy trained young people from over 50 planets to become space defenders. Earth had only joined the Galactic Alliance 3 months ago. Humans were the newest members, and many aliens still thought of them as primitive. "Welcome, Earth cadets," said a voice from above. Kim looked up to see a hovering platform. On it stood an Aurelian instructor with silver skin and 4 arms. The name tag on his uniform read Instructor Tay. "I am your lead trainer," said Tay. "You will find your room assignments on your personal devices. Classes begin tomorrow at first light." Kim found his quarters in Building 7 when the door slid open. He saw 3 alien cadets already inside. They stopped talking and stared at him. "I am Kim," he said with a small bow. "From Earth." The tallest alien had skin like pale blue glass. His body was thin and delicate, with long fingers and a large head. "I am June of Alteria," he said. His voice was musical but cold. Beside him stood a stocky, orange-skinned alien with thick limbs and a wide face. "Hyun," he grunted. "Drenari High Moon." He looked Kim up and down with 3 yellow eyes. The third alien was smaller, with green scales and quick, darting movements. "Son of Vesperia," he said. "You're on the top bunk." He pointed to a sleeping pod above his own. Kim nodded and put his bag on the bed. The 3 aliens went back to their conversation, speaking in low voices and occasionally looking at Kim and laughing. Kim didn't mind. He knew it would take time to be accepted. He unpacked his few belongings and studied the academy map on his device until lights out. The next morning, all 4 roommates received the same message. They had been assigned to Squad 42 and would train together for the whole year. "A human in our squad?" groaned Hyun. "We'll fail all the physical tests." "Be quiet," said June. "He can hear you." Kim pretended not to listen as he pulled on his training uniform. It was made of special material that adjusted to each body type. He followed the others to the training hall. The training hall was enormous. The ceiling was so high Kim could barely see it. Different training areas filled the space. Some had climbing walls. Others had strange machines Kim didn't recognize. In the center was a large open area covered with soft blue material. Instructor Tay was waiting for them. His 4 arms were crossed in different ways across his chest. "Squad 42, he said. "Today, we test your physical abilities in the standard academy gravity." Kim felt suddenly lighter. He bounced a little on his toes. The gravity here was much less than on Earth. "This is our training gravity of 0.6 g, explained Tay. "It is the standard, set for most Alliance species." Hyun stepped forward. "Instructor, will the human be able to keep up? Earth's gravity is abnormally heavy." Tay's silver face showed no expression. "All cadets must meet the same standards." The first test was a running course with obstacles. Sun went first. His scaled body flashed through the course, jumping over barriers and sliding under pipes with amazing speed. The timer showed 1:42 when he finished. June went next. Despite his fragile appearance, he moved with grace in the lower gravity. His long limbs helped him clear obstacles easily. His time was 1:56. Hyun's stocky body was surprisingly quick. His powerful legs sent him flying over jumps that would have been impossible in higher gravity. He finished in 1:47. Then it was Kim's turn. He took a deep breath and started running. His body felt strangely light, like he might float away. When he jumped over the first barrier, he went much higher than he expected and almost lost his balance when he landed. "Look at him flopping around," laughed Hyun, "like a fish out of water." Kim heard the laughter but kept going. He had to adjust to the strange feeling of each movement sending him too far, too high. By the middle of the course, he was doing better, controlling his jumps more carefully. He finished with a time of 2:20, much slower than the others. Hyun and Sun exchanged smug looks. Earth gravity must have made them slow, whispered Sun. Next came weight training. Each cadet had to lift weights adjusted to their body type. Hyun lifted his easily, the muscles in his orange arms bulging. Jun, despite his thin frame, managed well in the low gravity. Sun was not as strong but still passed. When Kim's turn came, he approached the weights. They looked heavy, but in this gravity they felt much lighter than they would on Earth. He lifted them without trouble. Increase weight by 20%, said Instructor Tae. Kim lifted again. It was harder but still possible. Another 20%. The aliens watched with growing surprise as Kim kept lifting increasingly heavy weights. His face turned red with effort, but he didn't stop. That's enough, said Tae finally. Interesting. You have greater strength than your frame suggests. It's the gravity, Kim explained simply. On Earth, everything is heavier. The final test was a swimming challenge in a large pool. The aliens moved through the water with various techniques. Jun used his long limbs to glide smoothly. Hyun was less graceful but powerful. Sun moved like a fish, clearly at home in the water. Kim was a decent swimmer, not the best but competent. In the lighter gravity, the water felt different, but he completed the test with a middle score. When all the tests were done, Instructor Tae brought the squad together. You each have strengths and weaknesses, he said. Together you will become stronger. Tomorrow we begin combat training. As they walked back to their quarters, Hyun couldn't resist commenting. So humans are just strong because they grew up in crushing gravity? That's your only advantage? Kim shrugged. We have our uses. We'll see, said Sun with a laugh. Tomorrow is combat training. Strength without speed is useless. Later that night, when the others were asleep, Kim sent a message to his family, back on Earth. He told them about the academy, the aliens, and the lower gravity. He didn't mention the mockery or his struggles. He ended the message with, I am learning something new every day. The galaxy is bigger than we ever imagined. Then he lay back in his sleeping pod and looked at the strange stars through the window. Tomorrow would be another challenge. But humans were good at facing challenges. It was what they had always done on Earth. And Earth, Kim knew, had prepared him better than his alien squad mates realized. 3 weeks passed at the Galactic Defense Academy. Squad 42 had settled into a routine. Every morning they trained their bodies. Every afternoon they trained their minds. And every evening, Hyun, Sun, and Jun would talk among themselves, often ignoring Kim. Despite sharing a room and training together daily, the alien cadets still kept Kim at a distance. They weren't cruel, but they made it clear they thought humans were the weakest species at the academy. One evening, Squad 42 sat together in the dining hall. The food came in colorful cubes that adjusted their taste to match each species' preferences. To Kim, they tasted like his mother's home cooking. I heard we're starting wilderness survival next week, said Sun, picking at his green food cube. We'll be sent to different planets to test our skills. Hyun grunted. Just as long as it's not a water planet. My kind don't do well in deep water. I hope it's not a heavy planet, said Jun, his delicate blue fingers tapping the table. My bones would snap in anything over 0.8 G. Kim listened quietly as they talked. After 3 weeks of being looked down on, he decided it was time to speak up. We have excellent wilderness areas on Earth, he said. Mountains, forests, deserts. The 3 aliens looked at him in surprise. Kim rarely joined their conversations. Hyun laughed. Your gravity would crush us. Perhaps, said Kim with a small smile. Or perhaps you would learn something new. Like what? Asked Sun. How to feel miserable and heavy. Kim shrugged. Like how to adapt. How to survive when things are not easy. Earth is a backwater planet, said Hyun, waving one thick orange hand. What could advanced species possibly learn there? A shadow fell across their table. Instructor. Tay stood there, his silver skin gleaming under the lights. All 4 cadets straightened up at once. Actually, said Tay, a field trip might be exactly what this squad needs. The aliens looked worried. Kim tried not to show his surprise. Sir? Asked June. The Academy has started a new cultural exchange program, said Tay. Squads visit member worlds to learn from different environments. It builds understanding. He looked directly at Hyun. And humility. You want us to go to Earth? Sun's green scales darkened with concern. Pack your gear, said Tay. You leave in 2 days. 2 days later, Squad 42 boarded a transport ship. It was small but fast, able to reach Earth in just under 10 hours. The alien cadets read information about Earth on their devices, growing more nervous with each new fact. Average surface gravity 1G, read June aloud. That's almost double the Academy standard. Look at this, said Sun, showing his screen to the others. They have massive oceans, active volcanoes, and regular earthquakes. The whole planet is unstable. And the temperature ranges are extreme, added Hyun. From 50 to plus 150 degrees in some areas. How do humans survive this? Kim, who had been quiet until now, said simply, It's home. The ship's captain, a bird-like alien with golden feathers, came to check on them. We've given you each exo-assist suits, she said. They'll help with the gravity difference, but they're not perfect, so move carefully when you arrive. The suits were thin and fit under their uniforms. They would provide support to the aliens' muscles and bones in Earth's heavier gravity. Kim didn't need one, of course. He spent the journey looking out the view screen, watching the stars zip by. He hadn't seen Earth in months. He missed the blue sky, the natural air, the feeling of real sunlight on his skin. When the ship entered Earth's atmosphere, the aliens gripped their seats tightly. They were about to experience what most of them had only read about, a planet with crushing gravity. The ship landed in a clearing surrounded by trees. Through the windows, Squad 42 could see green mountains rising in the distance. The sky was blue with a few white clouds. Where are we? Asked June. South Korea, said Kim. My home country. We're in a remote area near Seoraksan National Park. The door opened with a hiss. Kim stepped out first, breathing deeply. The air smelled of pine trees and earth. He felt the full weight of his body again, and it felt right. The aliens followed slowly. Despite their exo-assist suits, they moved, awkwardly. Their bodies were not used to this gravity. Sun took a few steps and nearly fell over. June moved as if walking through thick mud. Even sturdy Hyun was breathing heavily after just standing up. This is uncomfortable, admitted June, his tall frame already showing signs of strain. Kim smiled for the first time since they'd met. It wasn't a mocking smile, but one of genuine pleasure at being home. We'll be hiking through those mountains, he said, pointing to the distance. It's a 3-day journey. Nothing special by Earth standards. Even children do this trail. 3 days? Gasped Sun. In this gravity? Kim nodded. He pulled out a paper map. Not a digital one, but actual paper. The aliens stared at it as if it were an ancient artifact. We'll follow this path, Kim said, tracing a line with his finger. Up through the forest, along the ridge, and down to the lake. The ship will meet us there. And if we have problems? Asked Hyun, trying to sound brave but failing. Kim patted a small device on his belt. Emergency beacon. But we won't need it. Their packs waited for them near the ship. Each contained water, food, basic tools, and sleeping gear. The aliens struggled to lift their packs, even though they were standard Academy issue. Kim lifted his own pack easily and helped June with his. Then, he pointed to a narrow path leading into the forest. This way, he said. They walked in single file. Kim led, moving at what was for him a slow pace. Hyun came next, determined to prove himself. Behind him was Sun, already regretting this trip. June brought up the rear, his long limbs moving carefully on the uneven ground. The forest was thick, with life. Birds called from the branches above. Small animals rustled in the undergrowth. The sunlight filtered through the leaves, creating patterns on the ground. For Kim, it was a pleasant stroll. For the aliens, it was torture. After just 1 kilometer, Hyun called for a rest. His orange skin was darker than usual, and he was sweating profusely. "How do you move so easily?" he asked Kim between heavy breaths. "I grew up here," Kim said simply. "My body is built for this gravity." They rested for 10 minutes, then continued. The path began to slope upward. The aliens moved even more slowly now. Every step required effort. Their exo-assist suits hummed as they worked hard to help support their bodies. By midday, they had only covered 5 kilometers. At the academy, they could run 50 kilometers without tiring. Here, they could barely walk. They stopped by a small stream for lunch. Kim showed them how to fill their water bottles in the clean mountain water. The aliens sat on rocks, too tired to talk much. "The worst part," said Sun, "is that this is normal for you. This crushing weight is what you feel every day." Kim nodded as he ate his lunch calmly. "It's what shaped us, made our bones dense, our muscles strong. No wonder humans look so compact," said June, studying Kim with new interest. "You evolved to withstand this pressure. Is all of Earth this heavy?" asked Hyun. "The gravity is the same," said Kim. "But the terrain changes. Some places are flat and easy to walk. Others are much harder than this." He pointed up at the mountains ahead. "Tomorrow will be more challenging." The aliens looked at each other with worry. If this was the easy part, what would tomorrow bring? As they packed up to continue their hike, Kim noticed that they were watching him differently now. The mockery was gone from their eyes, replaced by something new, a growing respect. They still had a long way to go, both on the trail and in understanding each other. But something had changed. For the first time, the aliens were seeing humans not as primitive or weak, but as something they had never considered before, a species perfectly adapted to survive in one of the harshest environments they had ever experienced. The first day of hiking ended as the sun began to set. Kim led the group to a small clearing beside a rocky outcrop. The aliens dropped their packs and sat heavily on the ground, exhausted from just 1 day of walking in Earth's gravity. "We'll camp here tonight?" said Kim. The aliens watched as Kim quickly set up a simple camp. He cleared a space for a fire, gathered dry wood from the forest edge, and set up their sleeping shelters with practiced ease. His movements were smooth and sure, showing no signs of the fatigue that plagued the others. "How are you not tired?" asked Sun, his green scales dull with exhaustion. Kim shrugged. "This is normal for me. My body is used to this gravity." As darkness fell, Kim lit a small fire. The flames cast warm light on their faces. The aliens huddled close, finding comfort in the heat. Above them, stars appeared in the night sky, the same stars they traveled between but seen now from Earth's surface. "Those are the stars of home," said June softly, pointing upward with one long blue finger. "Yet they look different from here." "Everything is different here," said Hyun. His orange skin looked almost red in the firelight. "Even the air feels heavy." Kim opened a packet of food and began to cook over the fire. The smell made even the tired aliens sit up with interest. "Real food?" asked Sun. "Not nutrition cubes?" Kim nodded. "Earth food. Try it." He passed around bowls of a simple stew with vegetables and meat. The aliens tasted it cautiously at first, then ate with growing enthusiasm. "This is good," admitted Hyun between mouthfuls. "Better than academy food," agreed Sun. As they ate, the sounds of the forest surrounded them. Night birds called, small creatures rustled in the undergrowth. A gentle breeze moved through the trees. "Your planet is very alive," said June, listening to the sounds. "We were taught that Earth was primitive, but it's just different." Kim smiled slightly. "Tomorrow will be harder. The path goes up the mountain. We should sleep now." The aliens didn't argue. They crawled into their sleeping shelters and were asleep almost immediately, their bodies drained by Earth's constant pull. The second day dawned clear and cool. Kim was already awake when the others emerged from their shelters. He had a small fire going and water boiling for a hot drink. "How do you have so much energy?" groaned Sun, his movements slow and stiff. I slept well, said Kim simply. Drink this, it will help. He handed each of them a cup of dark liquid. The aliens sniffed it suspiciously. It's just tea, Kim explained. Made from local plants. It gives energy. They drank cautiously, then with more enthusiasm as the warm liquid seemed to bring life back to their tired bodies. After a quick breakfast, Kim packed up the camp with efficient movements. The aliens tried to help, but found even simple tasks difficult in Earth's gravity. Their exo-assist suits helped, but the technology could only do so much against the constant downward pull. The suits were designed for short visits to heavy planets, explained June as he struggled to fold his sleeping gear. Not for extended hiking. Kim nodded understanding. We'll go at an easy pace today. But easy for Kim was still challenging. For the aliens, the path now led upward, climbing the side of the mountain. The incline wasn't steep by Earth standards, but for beings used to much lighter gravity, it was like walking up a wall. Yun, who was the strongest of the aliens, struggled with each step. At the academy, he could easily lift weights that made other cadets gasp. Here, just carrying his own body weight up a slight hill left him breathing hard. Sun, normally quick and agile, moved with painful slowness. His species evolved for speed, not endurance, and Earth's gravity seemed to press down on him like a heavy blanket. June had the worst time. His tall, thin body was simply not built for this environment. His bones, lighter than a human's, protested with each step. Without the exo-assist suit, he couldn't have walked at all. Yet Kim moved steadily upward, occasionally stopping to let the others catch up. He carried not only his own pack but had taken some items from June's as well, to lighten the Altarian's load. By midday, they had climbed high enough to see over the forest. The view was breathtaking. Green trees stretched in all directions with mountains rising in the distance. A river wound through the valley below like a silver ribbon. It's beautiful, said Sun, forgetting his discomfort for a moment. They stopped for lunch on a flat rock outcrop. The aliens collapsed gratefully, their limbs trembling with exhaustion. At the academy, said Hyun between deep breaths, I can run for hours without stopping. Here, I can barely walk. Kim nodded. Different worlds make different bodies. He passed around more of the trail food. Eat. You need energy. As they ate, Kim pointed to the path ahead. We'll reach the ridgeline by evening. Tomorrow is mostly downhill to the lake. Downhill sounds easier, said Sun hopefully. Kim's face remained neutral. It's different. Not always easier. After lunch, the climbing became steeper. The path narrowed, winding between large rocks. In some places, they had to use their hands to pull themselves up. For the aliens, it was a brutal test of endurance. Their bodies, even with the help of the exosuits, were not designed for this environment. Every movement required conscious effort. June stumbled on a loose rock and would have fallen if Kim hadn't caught him with one strong hand. How did you move so fast? Asked June, surprised by Kim's quick reaction. I saw you were going to fall, said Kim. On Earth, a fall can be serious. We learned to watch for danger. As the afternoon wore on, the aliens fell into a pattern. Take a step, rest. Take another step, rest. Their progress was painfully slow, but Kim never showed impatience. He waited when they needed to stop. He helped when they struggled. He pointed out the safest path through difficult sections. At the academy, said Sun during one rest break, you seemed unremarkable. But here, you're like a different person. Kim looked out over the valley below. Not different, just in my own environment. He pointed to a bird soaring on air currents above them. That bird flies easily here. Put it in water, it would struggle. Put it in space, it would die. Every creature has its place where it belongs. The aliens considered this as they watched the bird glide effortlessly through the air that felt so heavy to them. By evening, they reached the ridgeline as Kim had promised. The path leveled out, running along the top of the mountain. To one side, they could see back the way they had come. To the other, a new valley opened up with a lake gleaming in the distance. That's our destination, said Kim, pointing to the lake. The ship will meet us there tomorrow evening. They made camp in a sheltered spot just below the ridge. The wind was stronger here, carrying the cool scent of the mountains. As Kim prepared their evening meal over a small fire, the aliens sat in tired silence, looking at him with new eyes. "I thought humans were weak," Hyun said finally. "At the academy you seemed so limited." "The academy isn't my world," replied Kim. "This is." After they ate, June asked a question that had been bothering him all day. "Kim, why did you suggest this trip? You knew it would be hard for us. Was it revenge for how we treated you?" Kim looked surprised. "No, it was to understand each other better." He gestured to the mountains around them. "This shaped my people, made us what we are, just as your world shaped you." That night, as the aliens lay in their shelters, exhausted but somehow satisfied, they thought about Kim's words. They had come to Earth thinking they would see a primitive world with primitive people. Instead, they were learning that different didn't mean lesser. It just meant adapted to different challenges. And Earth, they were discovering, presented challenges they had never imagined. The third day started with heavy gray clouds hanging low over the mountains. Kim looked up at the sky with concern as the aliens packed their gear. "The weather is changing," he said. "We need to move quickly." "Is it dangerous?" asked June, his blue skin paler than usual from fatigue. "Mountain weather can turn bad fast," Kim replied. He pulled extra waterproof covers from his pack and handed them out. "Put these over your packs and wear your rain gear." The aliens did as he suggested, though they didn't fully understand his worry. At the academy, all training took place in controlled environments. Weather was never a problem. They set off along the ridge. The path was relatively flat here, following the top of the mountain. The aliens found it easier than yesterday's climb, though their bodies still ached from the constant pull of Earth's gravity. "The lake is about 10 kilometers ahead," said Kim. "If we keep a good pace, we'll reach it by afternoon." But nature had other plans. After just 1 hour of hiking, the wind picked up sharply. The clouds darkened and lowered until they enveloped the ridge in a thick gray mist. The temperature dropped suddenly. "What's happening?" asked Sun, wrapping his arms around himself for warmth. "A storm is coming," said Kim. His voice was calm, but his eyes scanned the path ahead with new intensity. "We need to find shelter before the rain starts." Too late. Big, heavy drops began to fall, quickly becoming a steady downpour. The wind drove the rain sideways, making it difficult to see the path. "Stay close together," Kim called over the rising wind. "The path gets narrow here." The aliens huddled behind Kim as he led them forward. The rain made the rocky path slippery. Water ran in small streams across the ground. Suddenly, there was a crackling sound from the aliens' exo-assist suits. Small, blue sparks appeared around the joints. "Our suits," cried June in alarm. "They're not waterproof." Kim turned back to look. The advanced technology that helped the aliens cope with Earth's gravity was shorting out in the heavy rain. "Keep moving," he said firmly. "We need to get off the ridge." But without the full help of their suits, the aliens moved even more slowly. Earth's gravity seemed to pull at them with renewed force. Their limbs felt like they were made of lead. The path now began to slope downward, heading toward the lake in the valley. Under normal conditions, going downhill would be easier than climbing. But with the rain making everything slippery and their suits malfunctioning, it was more dangerous. Hyun was in the lead behind Kim. As they rounded a bend in the path, his foot slipped on a wet rock. He lost his balance and fell, sliding off the edge of the path and down the steep mountainside. "Hyun!" shouted Sun in horror. Kim reacted instantly. He dropped his pack and secured a rope to a large rock beside the path. With quick, sure movements, he tied the rope around his waist. "Stay here," he ordered June and Sun. "Hold the rope if you can." Before they could protest, Kim was sliding down the slope after Hyun, using the rope to control his descent. The aliens watched in amazement as the human moved with confidence down the nearly vertical slope, finding handholds and footholds where they could see none. Hyun had tumbled about 20 meters down before catching himself on a small ledge. He clung there, his orange face dark with fear, one leg bent at an unnatural angle. Kim reached him quickly, securing himself on the ledge beside the injured alien. "My leg," gasped Hyun. "I think it's broken." Kim examined the injury carefully. "Not broken, but badly twisted. Can you move at all?" Hyun tried to stand but fell back with a cry of pain. "No, the suit is completely dead now. I can barely lift my arms in this gravity, let alone climb." Kim looked up at the path where June and Sun watched anxiously. Then he looked down at the steep slope below them. The rain continued to fall heavily, making the rocks slick and treacherous. "I'll carry you," Kim said finally. "What? That's impossible," protested Hyun. "I'm heavier than you, and in this gravity." But Kim had already moved into position, crouching with his back to Hyun. "Put your arms around my neck," he instructed. "I'll do the rest." With disbelief, Hyun did as he was told. Kim stood up, lifting the alien onto his back. Then, with one hand gripping the rope and the other finding holds on the rock face, he began to climb back up to the path. It was an incredible display of strength. Hyun was indeed heavier than Kim, and Earth's gravity made him even heavier. Yet, Kim climbed steadily, his muscles straining but never faltering, his movements careful but confident. "How can you do this?" Hyun asked, his voice filled with wonder. "Practice," grunted Kim. "And necessity." When they reached the path, Sun and June helped pull them up the final few meters. They stared at Kim with new respect as he gently set Hyun down. "You carried him up in this gravity," said Sun, his voice hushed. That should be impossible." Kim shrugged. "We need to find shelter and look at his leg properly. The storm is getting worse." He was right. The wind had increased to a howl, and lightning now flashed across the sky. Thunder boomed, echoing off the mountains. "There's a cave system not far from here," said Kim, studying his paper map, now protected in a waterproof case. "We can wait. Out the storm there." He helped Hyun to his feet. The injured alien leaned heavily on Kim, unable to put weight on his hurt leg. Sun and June tried to help, but without their exosuits working properly, they could barely manage their own weight, let alone help carry another. They moved slowly down the path, with Kim supporting Hyun. The other two aliens followed, struggling, against both gravity and the storm. The rain had soaked through their clothing despite the waterproof covers, and they shivered in the cold wind. After what seemed like hours but was probably only 30 minutes, Kim spotted the cave entrance. A dark opening in the rock face, partially hidden by bushes. "There," he said, pointing, "just a little further." Inside, the cave was dry and surprisingly large. It extended back into the mountain, providing good shelter from the storm. The temperature was cool but much warmer than outside. Kim helped Hyun sit down against the cave wall, then quickly unpacked dry clothes and emergency supplies. He built a small fire using dry wood he found deeper in the cave and some fire-starting materials from his pack. As the fire's warm light filled the cave, Kim examined Hyun's leg more carefully. "It's a bad sprain," he said. "You won't be walking on it today." From his pack, Kim took out a small medical kit. He applied a cooling gel to the swollen ankle, then wrapped it firmly with a bandage. "This will help with the pain and swelling," he explained. Hyun watched Kim work with a thoughtful expression. "At the academy, you struggled with even basic medical training," he said. "But here, at the academy, we use advanced medical pods," Kim replied. "On Earth, especially in remote areas, we learn to treat injuries with simple tools." He smiled slightly. "My mother is a doctor. She made sure I knew basic first aid before I left home." The fire grew stronger, casting a warm glow over the 4 cadets. Outside, the storm raged on, but inside they were safe and dry. Kim prepared a hot drink for each of them using water heated over the fire and packets from his supplies. The warm liquid helped restore their energy and calm their nerves. "Our suits are completely dead," said Sun, examining his exo-assist unit. Without them we can barely move in this gravity, and the storm might last all night, added June, listening to the howling wind outside. We'll contact the ship in the morning if the storm clears, said Kim. For now, we rest and recover. As the others sipped their drinks, Hyun looked at Kim with new eyes. You saved my life, he said quietly. Why? After how we treated you at the academy. Kim seemed surprised by the question. You're my squad mate, he said simply. On Earth, we don't leave people behind. The aliens fell silent thinking about those words. At the academy, they had often left Kim behind. Not physically, but socially, treating him as less important, less capable. Yet here, in the harsh conditions of Earth, when real danger threatened, Kim had not hesitated to risk himself for one who had mocked him. I think, said June slowly, we have much to learn from humans. Outside, the storm continued to rage. But inside the cave, something important had changed between the 4 cadets of Squad 42. Morning came with gentle light filtering into the cave. The storm had passed during the night, leaving a fresh, clean smell in the air. Kim was already awake, tending to a small fire where he heated water for morning tea. The aliens woke slowly, their bodies stiff and sore from Earth's gravity and yesterday's ordeal. Without functioning exo-assist suits, even simple movements were difficult for them. How is your leg? Kim asked Hyun as he handed him a cup of hot tea. Hyun moved his injured ankle carefully, still painful but better than yesterday. Kim nodded and checked the bandage. The swelling is down, that's good. Outside the cave, the sky was clear blue. Water droplets sparkled on leaves and rocks, catching the morning sunlight. The storm had washed everything clean. It's beautiful, said June, looking out from the cave entrance. Your planet is harsh, but beautiful. Kim smiled slightly. That's Earth. Challenging, but worth it. He looked at their damaged exosuits. Can you repair them? Sun shook his head. Not here. They need special tools and parts. Then we have a problem, said Kim. The lake is still 5 kilometers away. Without the suits, it will be very difficult for you. The aliens looked at each other. At the academy, a technical failure like this would mean the end of the exercise. Instructors would intervene, provide new equipment, or cancel the mission. But this wasn't the academy. This was Earth, with its unyielding gravity and remote wilderness. Help was not going to appear magically. What do we do? Asked Sun. Kim considered for a moment. We have 3 options. We can activate the emergency beacon and wait for rescue. We can stay here while I go alone to the lake and bring back help. Or we can try to reach the lake together, moving slowly. What do you recommend? Asked June, surprising himself with how naturally he now turned to Kim for guidance. I don't like using the emergency beacon unless there's a true emergency, said Kim. It's meant for life-threatening situations. And leaving. Us here alone isn't safe, added Hyun. We've learned that much. Kim nodded. Then we go together, slowly, helping each other. He looked at Hyun. I can help you walk. The aliens agreed. After a light breakfast and packing their gear, they prepared to leave the cave. Kim fashioned a walking stick for Hyun from a strong branch and showed him how to use it to take weight off his injured ankle. Then he redistributed the weight from their packs. Kim now carried most of the heavy items, leaving the aliens with lighter loads. Even with this extra weight, he moved more easily than they did. Ready? He asked. They nodded, determination on their faces. This was no longer about completing a training exercise. It was about surviving Earth together. The path down from the mountains was steep in places, but the ground had dried somewhat after the storm. Kim led the way, finding the safest route. He frequently stopped to help the others over difficult sections. Hyun struggled the most because of his injury, but he never complained. Using the walking stick and occasionally leaning on Kim, he kept moving forward. At the academy, said Sun during a rest break, we thought Huma